coverage area here that we see on Friday nights that made that list. And congratulations go out to all of them. You've probably got the list there in front of you. I do not, but it's extensive, it's impressive, and it's deserved.
No doubt. And we will get to all of that. We will talk about all the games in Canton, and we'll talk to the coaches about probably some of the behind the scenes things that in the immediate aftermath of the game you either don't notice, don't have time to deal with, or maybe after a little perspective, you think, that was a really big play. And it wasn't a touchdown play. It wasn't a big gainer, but without that play, maybe some of those big plays don't happen. So it was really a cool thing to watch. Marion was dominant. You expected Marion to be dominant. I had not seen the Flyers all year. Newark Catholic, a team that really was Marion before Marion. They used to win titles all the time with the regularity that Marion has since Tim Goodwin took over. But after first series, Sonny, where it was competitive, and I thought, wow, Marion's going to have to adjust. They did. Can't run it. Let's throw it. And boy, did Peyton Oddie throw it, and boy, did Brady Ronnebaum catch it.
Somebody on the Newark staff, and I don't know their staff. I know I did meet Coach Aiello very briefly in the post game, but somebody outside was asked the question about being prepared to play Marion. Were you prepared to stop their run game? And this individual said, yeah, we were, but we weren't anywhere near as prepared as what Marion was in their adjustment. He said, the way they threw the ball was just unexpected. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody had seen that this year. I mean, they threw the ball, but look, they're not even in the top 10 in the max stats list for the season for either passing or receiving yards. It's almost like they didn't. I think when I looked after 10 weeks, this doesn't count the playoffs, but I looked a little deeper. I don't think they even had 850 passing yards for the year. We'll ask him when he's on here in a few minutes about that. But I mean, that was an absolutely off the charts thing to look for if you were trying to scout Marion local and figure a game plan, what you have to do to beat them. You could almost negate the fact, well, they might throw the ball on us, but we don't think they will. I think they're going to run it. And after that first 3 and out, Tim Goodwin came out, the Flyers came out and said, here, have some of this. And it was game, set, match after that.
Yeah, Coach Goodwin is just about ready to join us. I'll just note that in the final stats, Marion did not rush for 100 yards. They rushed for 98 yards on 27 carries. That might have stressed Coach Goodwin out if you'd have told him that in week 2, that in the state title game he'd rush for 98 yards. But the passing game came around. Credit to Peyton Oddie, credit to his receivers. They spent a lot of time working on their routes and on their kind of timing in voluntary time away from practice on Sunday afternoons. They talked about that after the game. They ended up throwing for 252 yards, so total offense 350. We're very used to seeing that out of Marion. And their defense, which goes under the radar, but I don't know why, held Newark Catholic to 129 yards, and it all added up to a 42-7 victory. And here is the head coach of the state championship team, the Marion local Flyers. Tim, thanks so much for your time tonight. Congratulations. And I assume that a lot of people in Marion are still on cloud 9.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I was actually looking up the stats as you guys were talking about them. Looks like we had about 900 yards passing after 10 weeks. But yeah, we're excited. It was a great year, and we're just happy to have finished the season well. I think the most exciting thing for me is just that we made the trip and played well. That's what you want to do. And we haven't always done it, even on some of the years that we won. We've been sloppy at times and kind of hung on and won a few games, but we played pretty well, and we were pretty much on point the entire day there against Newark Catholic.
I have a question to ask you before we get into anything else pertaining to the passing game, because you said to me early in the year, maybe even before the year, we can't throw the ball a lick. And and then you said in the post-game press conference the other day that it was something that you told that if you want to throw it, you need to do some extra work. It was just a work in progress, and we worked on it, kept working on it, and finally today it worked out. but it's not always that easy. And I just wondered if that was your standard of the passing game or the general standard of a high school passing game that you didn't trust throughout the regular season.
Well, it always takes more work for the passing game, at least for Marion local. We always spend more time on our passing game really than our run game in terms of, if you break down the practice time spent. This year was just we had some very frustrating moments. I told a story at the welcome home. We went up to Elida for a 7-on-7 with Elida, Finley, and I think it was Liberty Center, and we were awful. I mean, in 7-on-7s, the offense should look pretty good. There's no pass rush. There's no pads on, and we couldn't complete anything. And it was the worst that we've ever looked in July at a 7-on-7. We're not 7-on-7 warriors like some schools. We only do a couple, but it was especially bad this year. And it wasn't any one thing. If it was one thing, we would have changed it. It was, the quarterback was struggling, and then when the quarterback put the ball on the money, the receiver wouldn't catch it, and it was bad. I'm not exaggerating there, but that's very satisfying as a coach just to see the growth of something like that. I mean, that's why we do it, to grow and to improve and to be the best that we can.
Let me ask you this. At what point did you learn to trust it? Because I was watching some film today, some replay, I think it was on Twitter or something, of some of the throws that Peyton Oddie made, and they looked crisp. He looked confident. He looked like he was on time, exactly knew what he was doing. In fact, he looked a lot better than the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback did yesterday.
I don't remember when it was. It was later on the season. The coaches, we started commenting on just Peyton, like he now looks like a quarterback. He always looked like a great athlete at our levels, anyway. And something just clicked where, he got more comfortable. Last year we played him at quarterback, but last year was weird anyway. And I probably did a terrible job of coaching, through the pandemic, with the lack of scrimmages and 7-on-7s and just practice time. But something clicked about, I would say 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, where he started looking a lot better. It didn't always translate to games, but from that point, we were pretty confident in him for sure. The receivers, it was always a matter of who we're going to throw to and who we're going to give the opportunity, really, because most of our pass plays this year were what we call shot plays off our play action look. We're just going to sell a hard play action off of some of our best runs and see if we can run a guy up the seam or get past someone and take a shot. And we went through the revolving door of what receiver we were going to put in that spot too.
Well, let me add this before Bruce asks you what he's got for you. The two notable throws, the second touchdown to Brady Ronnebaum was a very difficult catch for him. He had to go up in the air. He had to fight a defender who was right in his face to get it. And when you made that catch, and then the one to Dylan Fleck in the second half, because that was directly over his head, that was a high degree of difficulty throw. That didn't look like a team that had trouble throwing the ball. And I mean, that was oohs and ahs stuff out of your stands, your fans behind, because, maybe you had them fooled too. They hadn't seen it either.
No, we hadn't seen, especially a catch like Brady's really all year, I'd be honest with you. It wasn't like we had Nick Tangeman making these spectacular catches all year or any of those other great receivers. Hunter Wilker and Troy Holm. I mean, the Walters brothers, we've had some great ones and we've been spoiled, to be honest with you. How can I forget last year with Charles Hillsman, the last 2 years? I mean, he was right up there too. And we hadn't seen that. And now Dylan had been very consistent. Dylan has very good hands. He's more of a fullback type, so we didn't send him deep a whole lot. But we started scheming up a few more things for Dylan probably the last four weeks. But the Brady thing, to be honest with you, going into that play, I think it was right after change of possession or a quarter. I don't remember exactly what happened. We had an extended media timeout, and we were debating in that timeout who to put at that outside receiver, to run that route. Because both guys were kind of running stutter and goes on that little play, and probably it's going to go to the outside guy. And we weren't clear as coaches as like, who should we stick out there? I mean, it wasn't like I said, some of those other receivers were as obvious.
Tim, the second touchdown you guys scored, I believe, was on a 4th down play, was it not? And that has to be a big momentum blow to Newark Catholic. They get you in a 4th down. It was 4th and goal, so it wasn't a surprise that you had to get it in the end zone. The first of what I thought were 2 real momentum blows. We chatted after the game Saturday about the second one, which was the way you guys kind of ordered the latter moments of the first half, getting an interception after they'd pulled within 21-7, had a chance to, with the ball at midfield, get into the end zone, make it 21-14, and then receive the third quarter kickoff. But I really felt like those 2 punches were very difficult for any team to withstand, and particularly when you continued to hold them down on defense.
Yeah, you and I talked about that exchange right before half. That was huge. That 4th, if I remember right, it was like 4th and 12 from the 20. So I think we could have got a first down, something like that. But that was a huge momentum swing. They got us where they want us for sure. 4th and 12, we got a pass. We liked the play that we ran. But again, if you would have went back and watched all of our film, you wouldn't see us completing that pass a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things that it's happened before. Where kids, you have no idea. They might be the hero. And they turn out to be, and it's Brady Ronnebaum in this case, great kid, has worked hard, hasn't had, a lot of big plays over the years. So, as a coach, he's definitely a kid you can root for, and you're happy that it happened to him on a stage like this.
One of the things that I wanted to share with you tonight, obviously everybody in Ohio knows now that you guys, your win on Saturday gave you the all-time record for titles won by a single school with 12, and you had previously shared that with St. Ignatius. And I wanted to share with you tonight some comments sent to the website over the weekend from around the state. These are just high school football people around the state, and their respect for you as coach and your kids as players and the program. And the first one comes from a gentleman in Ironton who says, "Congratulations to Marion Local and Coach Goodwin. 12 titles in 22 years proves, without a doubt, that Marion is the #1 high school football program in Ohio," from Ironton, Ohio. And I know I know you have to be proud of that. And you and I have actually spoken about that before. And that was after number 7 or something. And you said, well, we at least have to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and it is flattering, coming from Ironton. They know high school football, and they've had some great football over the years, back with Bob Lutz, and now recently with their coach, they've kind of improved and got back on the stage. So, it's cool. It's cool, just being known around the state for what you work hard to do. But it's not why we do it, and you just got to keep it in perspective.
Let me add another one. In the history of the game, no one has ever played with the consistency of Marion Local. These are not professionals or even Division I college athletes. It doesn't matter what division. 12 titles in 22 years and 3 runner-ups is simply a fabulous achievement. Wow. And this comes from Mark Gano in Cuyahoga Heights. And ironically, about 5 years ago, you beat Cuyahoga Heights for one of your 12 titles.
Yeah, that was a great game with Cuyahoga. And that's kind of the neat thing. You see these teams around the state, and once you play a team, you kind of have a connection. And when a lot of times my wife and I are driving around the state or wherever, hey, let's go into this town and see their school and their stadium and take a picture. And Cuyahoga Heights is definitely one of those schools. We had a great game with them. A well-played game by both teams. Very much respect Cuyahoga Heights.
Couple comments coming in from Facebook. Lots of congratulations here. We'll pop those up. Holly says congratulations. Randy says congratulations. And Randy has a question. And Tim, I know you've answered this question a bunch, and you answered it, I thought, quite eloquently after the game on Saturday. Ryan answers it. Chip Otten answers it. When you play in a league where multiple teams reach the state title and win the state title, I think it's a question why there's a reason why other people around the state would ask it, and that is what makes the MAC so special. I thought one of the things that you mentioned on Saturday that was really neat was you credited the parents for not getting in the way of allowing coaches in the MAC to lead their teams.
Yeah, and I think it's unusual, and it definitely helps keep coaches involved, and that continuity is huge. And you just look and you see all these young coaches get out of coaching for a lot of different public reasons anyway, but they just can't be having fun. That's the bottom line. You don't get paid that much per hour, so it needs to be fun for everyone. And if you're just getting blistered and undercut frequently, I mean, it's just not worth it. And so you get that constant turnover. And then when you do have a good group of kids that come through that could change the direction of the program, you don't have everything in place that is needed to change the direction of the program. So at these schools, you get a good coach, and they have fun, they stay, they build their staff, and you just keep rolling.
Tim, I just got a text from a friend in Central Ohio who said, I'm interested to know from Coach Goodwin, football is hard work. And I read in your story over the weekend where they consistently dress 70 and 80 kids for their roster. How in the world in this day you keep kids working that hard in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with the hope of playing football for Marion Local on the varsity level in 3 or 4 or 5 years? It's not likely in this day and age, and somehow they do it. How does he keep that going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a good question, and I don't know the exact answer to that, but I think it's related to the previous discussion about parents and just the programs and the kids grow up wanting to be a part of it. But football is hard, and you have to teach kids to do things that don't come natural to some kids. I mean, true. some of the things that you have to do on a football field just is not natural. And I mean, to some kids. Now, some kids, and that's another beautiful thing that I love about football is there's so many skill sets needed that you can take a lot of different kids and, find some sort of role for them. It may not be as a star player or even play really much on a Friday night, but you can sneak them in here or there, or definitely in practice. You treat them all the same in practice. And, I don't, it's probably not a good answer to the question. And I don't think there is a good answer to the question.
Well, I think I might have an answer to the question, Tim. And I was struck Saturday. I was down on the field as your game ended, and I was shooting some video for our Press Pros Instagram site, which people can find at press_pros. And it really struck me, the young boys, and I'm talking grade school boys, who were going through the line with Robbie Busher, Peyton Oddie, high-fiving your fans, leaning over the railing. And I thought to myself, and this was before, I think Brady brought it up in the post game. I know Peyton did, about how that used to be them. He said, they're out there, and that used to be us. And we grew up watching the Flyers, and we grew up watching guys win state championships, and I wanted that to be me. And Saturday it was him. But there may be a day in the future where those young men that I saw, that I don't know their names, but they clearly love the Flyers, that may be their time in the spotlight. I think that might be why you're able to get so many kids to buy into a game that doesn't come natural to them.
Yeah, that definitely could be a part of it. I don't know how big of a part, but yeah, a lot of times we carry a big managerial staff, and sometimes you have to lose a battle here or there and win the war, because a lot of times they get in the way and don't do a whole lot productive, but they grow up to be Brady Ronnebaum, and we've had tons of managers over the years. I think another thing that we do, I think is different than some schools is here it is week 16. We're playing in the state finals, and we're still actively working with our freshmen and sophomores during practice. And I'm not sure everyone else does that. But we always find time and keep those kids actively engaged in practice and coach them up.
Well, there's a lot of people in your community I've come to know over the last decade or so, and they all talk about work. And, you just said a moment ago about the work. It's hard work to play football. And the remarkable thing about what you do and how the consistency that this Mark Cano wrote to us about is the fact that we live in a culture now where we do nothing except make excuses for kids not to work. They're brought up thinking every generation we want to make it easier than we had it and easier than my dad had it. And that's the message that we preach. And yet here is a program like yours and like Coach Jones's at Versailles and all around the state that win titles in football. And there's just no other way except to do the work to get there, whether it's in a weight room or on the practice field or wherever. It is hard work.
There's no doubt. And I told another story at the welcome actually, and I highlighted one of our seniors, Peyton Moeller. And people ask us all the time, how are you so consistent? And my answer to that is, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's kids like Peyton Moeller. Here's a senior that came back and worked hard, was just a great teammate all year. We had Kyle Oddie back, we had Darren Meyer back, we had Drew Seitz back, we had Dylan Fleck back, we had a really talented freshman coming into the program that were all pretty much ahead of Peyton Moeller on the depth chart coming in. There was just no clear path for Peyton Moeller really to play a whole lot this year, coming into the year. And he came out and he worked hard and in practice, and he absolutely came through big time for us in several games where we were all banged up and we needed someone to carry the ball. And Peyton Moeller was a heck of a lot better than other teams had to put in a situation like that. And he hung in there, and he was a huge part of this season. And a lot of teams don't get Peyton Moellers to hang in there.
Well, Tim, as we get ready to let you go, I wanted to broach a topic with you and with Coach Jones, and we'll bring Coach Jones on next. And that is, I think both you guys showed throughout your playoff run, throughout the season, that you're excellent at adjusting mid-game. And I wonder what is the art of that? Is that most often you noticing something, somebody on your staff noticing something? Is that coming down from above? And you didn't wait Saturday. I don't know if your plan was to throw it on the second series, but after you had trouble running it on the first series, you just went to it. You didn't wait for the third quarter to adjust.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in that. And, it's varied over the years, really, depending on the staff. But we have a great one now, just an outstanding football staff, top to bottom, that they all chipped in. And, technology has changed a lot, and we got some guys that are good with tech. And so, we got the iPads on the sidelines, and those guys are just actively looking for anything. And, they do a great job. And it's something we take pride in. As a coach, you can't go out there and make a difference on the field, and so, that's our job, during the game. We preach this all the time to our kids. You do your job, you go out and out hit the opponent, and we'll make the adjustments. You do your job, we'll do our job, and it'll all work together, and we'll figure something out that works.
Well, it's clearly working, and it's a pleasure to watch it work. And we appreciate all that you do to make what we do easier and relatable to everybody. You guys are always very accommodating to us. We appreciate that very much. And that was great fun to watch on Saturday and all season long.
Yeah, we appreciate your great coverage, for a small high school in rural West Central Ohio, between you guys and the Daily Standard and the WCSM and WOSN all in our area. We are so fortunate that, we get the type of coverage that we do. So thank you very much.
Well, let me add this too. I've watched you play now for years, and it was neat to be there on the day that you got that record on Saturday. That was a milestone that I count among my favorite moments in high school or college sports for that matter of being on hand to see. And I couldn't appreciate it more. And to echo what Bruce said, it's just always fun. And we appreciate being around and having your assistance with everything that we try to do. And you're one of the best, and couldn't congratulate you more on what you've accomplished.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
All right, Tim, enjoy it. Thank you again. Tim Goodwin, the head coach at Marion Local. We'll have Ryan Jones, the head coach at Versailles, joining us momentarily. And a great thing to watch. I agree. I mean, when you see a record set, it's always fun to see. And Marion Local, with its 12th title, breaks the tie with Cleveland St. Ignatius. And I mean, hey, I walked behind their bench on Saturday, and they're not out of big, rangy kids. I can tell you that. So it'll be fun to watch next year and see what they do. But I got that same feeling, Sonny, a year ago when I watched Versailles in the playoffs. And I told you at the beginning of the year, I said, don't count them out in Division 5. We know Kirtland's powerful and has a great tradition, but I don't know. I had a little prophetic inkling there, and Saturday night it all played out. We welcome head coach Ryan Jones of the Versailles Tigers. Ryan, congratulations on building on Tiger Ball's legacy, and I'm sure you've had a phenomenal couple of days back in the town of Versailles.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, it's been great. We had a great welcome home at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday morning. Just fantastic support, and the fire trucks were waiting for us, and the streets were lined with community members. So just a fantastic experience for the whole team. And
after 18 years, I'm going to guess it'll be weeks before you have to buy a meal in Versailles. Those people were hungry for what you did Saturday night.
Well, it's just a pleasure to be a part of something like that.
Ryan, why have you not been put off by what happened a long time ago before you got there? And a lot of coaches tried to build on Coach Hetrick's amazing legacy. Is being the son of a coach helped you not get a little jealous of hearing about how great things used to be? I kind of led my game story with that phenomenon that to me, it's so unusual that your players don't react how a lot of teenagers react when they hear, hey, it used to be great. It used to be great. You ought to strive for that, because we live in a society where everything's new and improved. But for you as a coach, I mean, you have embraced that. You have always talked about Tiger Ball. And is it just because it dovetails with the kind of football you like to play?
Well, I think I would rather play that type of ball, but I think with that tradition comes a lot of interest in the game of football and the support from the community. And that's always something that I wanted to be a part of. And I'd rather have a community that has a tradition of football and a passion for football than one that doesn't. And, if that means following in the footsteps of somebody that, you can never match up to, that's okay. I just want to coach football, and, I just want to be around the game, and this is the opportunity to do it. And I got a chance to do it in a great place with great community, a place that fits me and my family really well with great players. And, that's all you can ask for if you want a chance to be successful.
You know what? Something I wanted to ask you and compliment you on from Saturday night, and Bruce and I talked about this briefly before we came on tonight, was the fact that you hadn't been in that situation. Your school hadn't been, kids program hadn't been there for a long time, 18 years. And those kids aren't dumb. They know what's at stake. They know what the expectations are back home from the people. And they're very well aware of all of that. And yet they did not come out. As somebody once said, if you're not nervous before a game like that, you're not ready to play. If you're not nervous. And if you're scared, you don't have any business playing at all. And yet your kids came out and handled that with extreme, seemed like calm. They didn't have the yips, to use a golf terminology. And that's either a tremendous credit to you and your staff or your 18 seniors. And I know you had to be aware of that, and you had to have talked about it during the week. How did you handle it?
Well, I think it is a tremendous compliment to the seniors. I think it's a reflection of them and their maturity. I think it's just a very mature group that's got a lot of experience. They're confident. They play together as a team, and they trust each other. So I feel like none of them felt like they had to do it on their own, because they really trusted each other. That's something we talk about a lot. But honestly, we never tried to focus on the enormity of the game, or, it being a championship, or playing a team that's won 55 straight in a row, or, That's just not something we talked about. I don't think it does you any good to talk about those things. I think everybody knows it's a championship game. So, I feel like it's of no benefit. So we focused on just the same things we focus on every week. I tried to treat it like it's any other week so that they are calm and composed, keep things as normal as possible. And so that way they approach that week just like they've approached every other week where we've played well and wanted to continue that. So we try to keep it normal, try to prepare just like we would any other game. Being in situations of tough games this year, playing in the MAC and playing against some good teams, making to the playoffs last year, I think that experience served them well and it helped prepare them. And I don't think they've shied away from any big moment this year at all. And, their confidence and their maturity, I think, is the reason why.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you beat the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed in your region, shut them both out, beat a team that was in the Final Four a year ago, Harvest Prep, and then beat the 3-time defending state champion, you earned that title, my friend. I mean, that is not an easy road, and you guys navigated it. And I thought Saturday, what was so impressive, Brian, was, as Sonny referred to, you navigated that game Saturday with confidence. You broke on top. You never trailed. They kept coming. You made the plays you needed to make. I wonder how big you felt the first drive was, and I wonder if you scripted the first drive, because you guys went methodically but purposefully down the field and kind of sent a message, hey, we're not only going to win this game tonight, we're going to keep the ball and make it very difficult for you to win this game tonight.
Yeah, I think it was very important. I thought that's why we won the coin toss. We wanted the ball first. I thought it would be important for us to score first. I had confidence in our offense to be able to do that. I wanted to try to put them on their heels a little bit, put them in a situation they hadn't been in before in a while anyhow, and see how they reacted to it. I had confidence that our guys would go out there and be able to execute the game plan. I felt like we had some new things that would allow us to score on that opening drive. I usually script the first 10 plays, but I never stick to it. I usually stick to the first one, and then it goes out the window after that. But, in that process of scripting the plays and making your play call sheet, it ends up sticking in your brain, and you just kind of know what you have and what you got to go to and what situation looks good. And you see what, really you want to try different formations and see how they line up to those. So you get a better idea of what you want to do from there on out and see what works. And, I thought that first drive was big, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game.
Carson Bay did something for you the other night that was really impressive to veteran people who've been around sports, and that is he didn't try to do anything heroic. He played within himself. He took what they gave him, what he was accustomed to doing every Friday night. If it's there, I'll take it. If it doesn't, I'll wait till I have a better opportunity. And some coaches say he did his very best not to lose the game for his team. And that's so hard to do. And it's such an impressive attribute for someone who's 18 years old and never been in that position before.
Yeah, well, Carson had played an unbelievable game, played a great game, couldn't ask for a better game. He's been a tremendous leader for us on and off the field. Got tremendous confidence in him as a quarterback, as a runner and a thrower. He can do it all, and he's a great football player. He could probably play anywhere on the field where we need him. But you're exactly right. He made the right decisions. I think as he's gone through his high school career, especially the last 2 years, and even through this year from the beginning of the year until that last game, he really improved as far as his decision making, understanding, what he needs to do, what's a good decision, when he has to force the ball and when he doesn't, what's the situation, do I have to make this throw no matter what, or can I hold on to it? Can I throw it away? Can I scramble and look for somebody else? And he continued to improve on those decisions throughout the season. And, when you have a quarterback that does that, you can limit turnovers. And as we know, turnovers are huge in football. And we're able to do that, win the turnover battle, against the team that was plus 15 on the year going into that game. And that's huge in any game. And so when you can win that battle, when you can trust your quarterback to make those decisions, then you feel a little more confident in giving him some freedom and calling those pass plays and against a really good cover team like Kirtland, who played a lot of man coverage and had a lot of good athletes out there.
Ryan, there no shortage of great plays by Carson, of course, to throw to Michael Osborne, which I'm told was featured tonight on Monday Night Football, that catch by Michael Osborne.
Yeah, it was on You Got Moss tonight.
How about that? And by the way, Michael, since Sonny threw out a golf term, I'm going to throw out a hockey term. Michael Osborne had in hockey, they used to refer to the Gordie Howe hat trick, which was a goal, assist, and a fight. Michael Osborne had, I don't know what, but he had a touchdown catch, an interception, and a fumble recovery. That's a pretty good football game. But getting back
pretty good. I'm glad there wasn't a fight involved. Yes, but
yes, exactly.
I'll take those two.
But getting back to Carson, 215 yards total offense, leading rusher, 8 of 12 throwing. I don't know if you've watched the tape yet, but when you do, to me, one of the biggest plays of the game that nobody's going to talk about, and I wrote about it because to me it was just huge, on your drive where you ended it with Jack scoring the touchdown to go up 20-3, you faced 3rd and 4 at the 6-yard line, and Carson ran a play around the right end, and the linebacker is there for him at the 7 or 8-yard line. And I do not know how Carson got out of that tackle, but he not only got out of that tackle and averted a loss of 2 or 3, which I don't know what you would have done on 4th down there if you bring Chase in to kick it or what, but he got the first down to the 1-yard line. And from there, it was kind of a formality that you were going to score. But that play is as good a 5-yard run as you will see at any level of football. And I just thought epitomized how Carson Bay rises to the occasion when you need him to do something special.
No, you're exactly right. That was a huge play. That was just a guy willing his way to the first down. I think he did that. It reminded me of another game, 4th down or 3rd down run he had. I think it was against Harvest Prep or against Taft. I can't remember, but it was very similar in that he was going to the edge and he had to break a tackle to get that first down. And that guy had him dead to rights. And, they're very well tackling football team. They tackle very well and they hit hard. And that was one thing I was very impressed with throughout the game is how well they tackled. And when they hit you, usually you were going down and he was able to break that tackle just through determination and get that first down. And that was huge.
Bruce just mentioned that catch of Mike Osborne's being on Monday Night Football tonight. And when you think about Versailles football over the years, you don't think about highlights. It's just grind, tough football, physical football, the running game. And yet when you look at, I think it's the picture that we had on our game story the other night of that catch in the end zone over their defender, he literally caught that ball in his fingertips and maintained control of it on the way to the ground. I don't know that you'll ever have a more spectacular catch at Versailles High School in a moment like that than what Mike Osborne had the other night.
No, that's an all-timer. That's what I told him after the game, and, Mike's a guy that hasn't played much receiver for us at all. He broke his thumb. He played quarterback for us starting the year and was a backup to Carson. He broke his thumb and had to wear a cast. So quarterbacking was out because that was his throwing hand. So we put him at receiver, and he was very impressive with his ability to catch the ball with a cast on his hand and played some JV football and played receiver, caught a lot of passes. But, Mike's a special athlete. He's very quick and a skilled guy. And, he had matured and gotten more reps as we went on through the season, eventually got his cast off. And we knew that he was a guy that Kirtland wouldn't be able to see on film. And they couldn't expect us to throw it to him because we haven't thrown it to him and he hadn't been in that situation. So we thought that was a good matchup for us and that it might be able to catch him off guard a little bit. And, we trust Mike. He's a good player. He's very mature for a sophomore. And he just made an unbelievable catch.
I want to note something Randy Luthman just posted on Facebook, and the message was to Coach Goodwin, and Coach was on with us earlier. And Randy mentioned that how classy it was of Marion Local and to go over and wish Coldwater well before Coldwater played. And, I've said before, Sonny, on previous Huddle shows that I think high school sports is, when I'm looking for a reason why I have hope for the future, it's because the attitudes and the way communities come together in high school sports is, I think just indicative of the best of our country.
It's the last bastion of pure.
And I don't know. And I know, and Coach Goodwin, as understandably, his players were celebrating their championship, and as Newark Catholic was getting its runner-up trophy, the Marion boys were just over the moon. They were just so excited, and they weren't being disrespectful. They were just focused on their own joy of the moment. And Coach Goodwin came over and said, "Hey, they're getting their trophy," and instantly, his players quieted down and turned their attention to Newark. And I thought that speaks well of the discipline he has, the respect he has. And then conversely, Ryan, when you guys were getting your trophy, I don't know if you noticed it, but just off to the would have been your left as you're facing the stands, Gage, why can't I remember Gage's last name? The Gage Sullivan, number 20, the kid who had 100 yards rushing. And Gage Sullivan, a senior, who that is the first loss in his high school football career, is standing right on the edge of your team, getting its trophy, looking at you guys, not an ounce of malice on his face, clapping his hands for what you guys have accomplished that he wanted to accomplish. And if anybody from Kirtland is watching, that to me speaks so well of Coach Laverty, of Gage Sullivan, and of the values that you, Coach Goodwin, Chip Otten, Chris Schmidt, on and on and on have ingrained in your teams. It's just so great to see young men, and I'll shout out New Knoxville volleyball team, young women, come together around a common good and all the great things that go into sacrificing for each other, investing in the future and delayed gratification and all those things. Those things struck me. Those are my mental images that I take away from a state championship weekend in Canton.
Well, I agree with you. That is, as Sonny said, that is one of the last bastions, certainly where men are able to be together and be men in many ways. And, I think that's a good thing. I think the sportsmanship oftentimes goes overlooked, but it is something that certainly exists in the MAC and also in other places. You see that with Kirtland. There's a reason why they're successful, and Coach Laverty does a great job. And that extends from him after, meeting him and talking with him. He's that same type of guy. So you can tell that attitude rubs off on his players. And that was exemplified there at the end of the game, as you mentioned, Bruce. And, I see that with Coldwater as they come off the field after a tough loss, where they were, feeling pretty bad after that. They were coming off and passing us in the hallway and rooting us on and telling us go get them. And you see that with the MAC, and it's kind of cool to see that in the conference, the guys cheering each other on and rooting for each other. Yeah, we're enemies when we play each other, but we all know we're from that same area. We're all kind of friends. We all know people in these different towns. We're all the similar people. I mean, you're not going to find any more people that are more similar to you in the whole world than these types of people in the MAC. You can be rivals, and I have to say it's funny how your rival is also the person that's probably the most similar to you of all the people in the entire world. So it's cool to have that support. Sportsmanship should be taught to those players. You try to lose with dignity and class, and you try to win with class. And I think that's important because everybody is in that situation. And it goes back to the golden rule. How would you like to be treated if you lost the game? How would you like to be treated if you lose? So if you treat other people the way you want to be treated, then good things will happen. And I think it's a sign of respect as well. And it's just proper behavior. But it goes back to what Coach Goodwin was talking about earlier with the parents. It's a reflection of the parents. The coaches are with these kids, but they're raised by their parents. And when you have good parents and you have a good community and the support there, and they teach them good values, then that shows itself on the football field.
And I think, Ryan, because you spent some time at Troy Christian, which is a very small school, Division VII school, you'll understand this, that across the state of Ohio, a lot of small schools in Division VII or Division IV basketball, if you will, are very concerned about the future, and they're being able to afford. After the pandemic, you can't sell tickets, your budgets are depleted, and you're losing kids out of your program. And a lot of schools, I've got family members who coach basketball at Jackson that are school administrators down in Lawrence County, and they're concerned over what's going to replace that if we lose that ability, of competition with football and basketball. Where are we going to teach those kind of life lessons to kids just in case they don't get it at home?
Well, I think you're right. You've got a world that's becoming more and more, I guess, global, and it's presented often as a great thing, but it's not always a great thing. And I think sometimes it's rarely a great thing, to be honest with you. And you lose a lot of those community gathering points, which can destroy a community, because it's based on those relationships and the families and being together and having your own culture in that community. And when you get rid of local stores and just mom and pop places and the big box stores move in, or all these chains move in, you lose that sense of community. You don't have people in the community that own those businesses often. And you have fewer and fewer places where just a community can gather. And I think high school sports is one of the few things that are left as far as that is concerned. And it does worry people if that starts to go away. Then, what else do you have? You have church and sports and that's about it. So that's why it is an important role, and that's why you still see people embrace that in these small communities around here in this part of the state.
Ryan, we'll end with this one. Both you and Coach Goodwin have something in common besides the fact that you're state champions for 2021. You're both the sons of longtime football coaches. You get the chance this year to coach with your dad. Your dad coaches the defense. Coach Goodwin up in Canton talked about as a young boy going to the state tournament, the state finals with his father. You may have had those same memories with your dad, but just give us a little bit of a reflection, if you would, on not just achieving what you guys achieved as a team and as a community and as a staff, but I think that's got to be very, very special to be able to share that with your father.
Yeah, it's extremely special. It's a dream come true. It's something that it was almost so far out there, I never even thought it was possible. I started coaching at the college level, and that's kind of where I saw myself. So I never really entertained the idea. When I got to Troy Christian, my dad was willing to make the drive up there and be the defensive coordinator. And it was just an awesome experience to be able to coach with your dad and to be able to spend time with him. You just don't have that much time as an adult. I'm 40 years old. Not many guys in my situation have a chance to spend the day with their dad, or at least a couple hours a day with their dad. So growing up in football, being around it, having a passion for it, just like my father, who kind of instilled that in me, and the good benefits of football and the things that it can teach and the joy you derive from it. That rubbed off on me, and to be able to share that with him, to be able to be there after, as he's 72 and he's able to coach in a state championship game for the first time in 48 years of coaching. It's a pretty awesome moment, and to be able to share that with him. And he did an unbelievable job. His game planning all year has been fantastic, and the kids love him, and he does a great job, and he cares about the kids, and they know that. I think kids are very good at detecting people who aren't genuine, and I think they respect the fact that he really enjoys being around them. And it's been a fantastic year. He relates with them well. He puts together a game plan. And one of the things that he's really good at is adjusting, and I always have to get him off the board there at halftime and say, I need a couple minutes to talk to the team as well. How many adjustments are you going to put in here? We got some things we got to do offensively. So, I know I annoy him there because I'm always getting on him about, hey, it's my turn here to talk a little bit, but he does a great job, and it's been terrific, a fantastic year, and kind of a dream to be able to do that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And when's your banquet?
I think the banquet is the 20th. We had to move it because of some scheduling conflicts, but I think it's Monday the 20th at maybe 7:30.
And now that you're state champion, you think there's any chance they'll build a bridge over that creek to the practice field so you don't have to walk across those slick, sharp rocks, there to get to practice and back every day? It always seemed to me that there's a bigger risk of getting hurt getting to practice crossing the creek than there is in practice or in the games.
Yeah, there is. That's part of toughening up the kids, We feel like if the hardest part of practice is just getting to the practice field itself, that makes the rest of practice feel easy.
Well,
Good
Ryan, congratulations. A lot of fun to watch you guys. I've seen you so often, I feel like I ought to get a varsity letter, but it never got old. Your kids are just great kids. They're so much fun to talk to, and it was so much fun to see them play on Saturday.
Ditto.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' support and the coverage you guys have given this part of the state all year. It's phenomenal. It's a great service to the community, and I know people enjoy it. And I know you talk about how most of these resources in this area now behind a paywall, and it's impossible for kids to even read stories about themselves. And it's a great thing what you guys do, and it's top-notch stuff, and we really appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. Happy holiday.
Ryan Jones, head coach at Versailles, and what a journey they were on, 15-1. Their only loss to Marion local. Carson Bay, a phenomenal performance. I mean, all around. Tarantayo up front, Ryan Kanapke, on and on and on. Just really amazing. And to, I mean, it's just kind of, it's funny how these things work, Sonny, in sports, when you have Versailles that won 55 straight games in the 90s, 3 state titles, and then Kirtland comes along, and Kirtland dominates. Ohio football has the longest winning streak in the nation, and they have 3 straight state titles. And who do they end up with in the state title game? The Versailles Tigers, and Versailles ends their streak. So we see that a lot in sports. It seems like it's too coincidental to be real. It almost seems Hollywood, but it was fun to watch on Saturday.
It's also funny, too, when you think about all the number of people, and I talk about this a lot. I've written about it for years, and I have no patience for people who downgrade the values of winning and how important that is to achieve a goal like what Marion did in winning 12 titles, like Versailles after 18 years to come back and add to that legacy, and what that experience is worth to young men and women as they go forward in life, that life lesson of hard work and perseverance and commitment and being a good teammate, because everything good that you get in life is not always going to come from Joe Biden. It's going to come from hard work and commitment. I don't care if it's your spouse, it's the college you want to get into, it's the career you want. Everything is a direct result of hard work and competitive instinct to achieve and win and persevere. And those values, you don't get them anywhere else but in situations like we talked about tonight with Tim Goodwin and Ryan Jones. And I'm so appreciative of that, because you and I both, you were a state champion, I think, in track and field or in cross country. And I was never a state champion, but you learn from being on a team and winning and getting that certain dirt under your fingernails by just coming out on top sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And there's nothing else that replaces it in life.
And you say not always, and that gives us a good segue to talk a bit about Coldwater. And we have spent, understandably, all of our show tonight on Marion Local and on Versailles, and we want to acknowledge that Coldwater had a phenomenal year. And Coldwater was the 4th seed in its region. Supposedly, from that number, there are at least 15 teams better in Division 6 than Coldwater. There never were going to be 15 teams better than Coldwater in Division 6, and I think they had the misfortune of running into the one team in Division 6 that was just a flat-out bad matchup for them. I think Coldwater would have been able to win the state championship against any number of other teams, and Cary upset. And you got to give Cary credit. They beat New Middletown Springfield to get there. New Middletown Springfield was a team that, with Coldwater last year, staged one of the best high school games of any level that I've ever seen. And Coldwater makes it back, and, a 265-pound running back and an offensive line that had that same kind of size advantage over Coldwater was just too much for the Cavs to overcome. But in getting back to the state title game after losing the same kind of a transformative leader in Miles Blasingame that Versailles has in Carson Bay and that Marion has in Peyton Ottey, that's a tremendous accomplishment for Chip Otten, for the Cavaliers, and a state runner-up for them. And just, happy for them, happy for that team, and they will definitely be back, as I'm sure Marion, Versailles, and other teams in the MAC will. We're running a graphic that says Versailles is the 7th different MAC team to win a state title in the last 7 years in football. That is balance, my friend. That is balance.
Well, the biggest credit that you can pay to Coldwater is they have lost big senior classes for years. going back to 2012 and 13 and 14 when he was making his run there of 4 consecutive championships won. They were losing 18, 20, 22 seniors a year and still came back the next year and won another title and another and another. And that just speaks volumes to the community, to what the coaches talked about, parents and values, and the fact of not undercutting the coaches and what they're trying to teach and what they're trying to instill in those children. And again, that winning tradition, that winning experience of hard work and commitment and being a good teammate, all those things follow you forever. And it's amazing that it happened more than it does. But to Chip Otten and his staff's credit, I think I wrote something about this the other day. I'll guarantee you. He said, "Well, you can't win them all." You and I sat there and listened to him in the press conference. But it wasn't a concession. What it told me was the wheels were turning about getting home, getting back to the drawing board. How are we going to get back there? It isn't a matter of get them again next year. Next year doesn't count unless you're prepared to go back and be better, be stronger, and finish on top again. And I know that's what his mindset was. We didn't get him today, but we're going to go back, and we're going to find a way to be better the next time.
Yeah, no doubt. And that, there's a lot of turnover every year.
It's high school.
Sometimes a team comes out of nowhere that we don't expect. And that was certainly New Bremen last year. To some, that would be Versailles this year. Not to me. I thought Versailles had every piece and the determination that they used to their advantage off their loss to Roger Bacon last year, a very close loss in the regional semifinals. That was some fuel that gave them the impetus to stick to the process and get there and win the championship. So,
well, and another thing, Bruce, as Tim Goodwin said about those young kids that grow up idolizing or wanting to imitate or emulate those players they see the play on Friday night. I'll guarantee you there's a lot of 5th and 6th graders in Versailles this year who watched the Tigers play on Friday night and said, "Hey, my turn someday. I want to be out there on Friday night. I want that same experience for myself."
No doubt. So we want to encourage you guys to tell your friends about the show. They can watch it on the replay on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page. Our Twitter is @PressProsMag. Our Facebook page is search just Press Pros Magazine. And we have really beefed up our content on the Instagram side. It's a great way for us, we feel, to engage with high school athletes and with those of you who like Instagram as your favorite social media platform. So make sure you're looking for our story every day. And we are promising you that we are going to be delivering more fresh content to the site every day. We updated our first person over the weekend a couple of times. We're going to get on doing that on a more regular basis. We'd love to hear from you with suggestions how we can improve the site, make it more responsive to your needs, your likes. But it's been a great year for us, and we could not do it without all of our great sponsors and with all of our great fans who read our content and share our content. And we appreciate that very much.
And you know what? Tomorrow we turn the page. First basketball coverage tomorrow on Press Pros. So we turn the page tomorrow night with Minster and Botkins boys. So looking forward to seeing those two programs and at least being inside where it's warm and dry. It was an unusually wet fall football season.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing the new head coach at Botkins and Jacob and Carter Plyman and the Botkins getting back out there on the floor trying to defend their state championship that they won a year ago under Sean Powell. So it'll be a great year. I'm sure the Fort Loramie girls will be good again, probably the Minster girls again. And hey, it's the MAC, baby. You better play hard. You better practice hard. You better train hard because it's a winning tradition that a lot of people around the state envy, and with good reason. And we love covering it. We love covering our other leagues as well. And we will pledge to do that the best we can as we go forward here into the winter basketball season and wrestling season. On PressProsMagazine.com. So with that, Mr. Folks, any reader speaks or anything you want to share with us before we get on out here?
I don't have so many reader speaks, but I do appreciate so much in time for tonight the people that wrote in and paid the compliments and congratulations to Marion Local. And I will say one. Here's one more from Russ in Scioto County, who says what's impressive is that Marion has won their titles now in 3 different divisions, not all Division 7. They've won a title in Division 5. They've won several in Division 6, and they've now won, 3 or 4 in Division 7. Well done. And then another Justin from Mogador, Ohio. They play good football in Mogador. Great tradition up there. 12 titles and 15 championship appearances is outrageous, he says. And 95-12 all time in playoff games computes to 88%. If Tim was here, I would say he probably does that in his head because he's a math teacher. There's no question that Marion Local stands alone at the top of OHSAA football for Justin and Mogador. I appreciate, and I'm sure the coaches do, and the fans of those communities do, of people from the outside sending in correct congratulations and those kind of compliments.
And we have a nice word of affirmation coming off Facebook from Keith, who says, thanks for an amazing job covering football and passing it on down here to South Florida. Stop by and hoist a cold one if you're in the area. So I don't think you'll have to encourage Mr. Folks too much to take you up on that one, Keith. So we'll keep that in mind for sure.
Keith, funny thing about that is you're the second person today from South Florida who's written and said that, but you come second to Steve Partington because he called hours ago.
Very good. Well, we have signed off the show the same way, or at least endeavored to sign off the same way every week. And Debbie Parker is on to our game, and she has picked it up too. So we allow her to join us every week in saying, have a great evening. And Truman, go to bed.
Truman, go to bed. Mine's already gone to bed, Debbie.
Very good. Thank you, guys, and congratulations again to Marion Local Cold